Buenos días. Son las 12. Es el miércoles. So hi, everyone. It's 12 o'clock on Wednesday, so it's time for our second Community Spanish of the week, broadcasting live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon for our adult Spanish classes, in addition to the kids classes we have going on every day with kids Spanish every day at 11 and kids French every day at 10:30. So something to watch new every day. As I always tell you, remember to take a look at our Facebook page for a collection of all the videos. In addition, we have a Facebook Live page on our website where you can see also all the videos linked nice and categorized. So if you're looking for a particular thing, you can see everything laid out there. In addition, we also have some extra short little exercises for you to do so you can get some extra practice with the things that you've been learning. So please feel free to take a look at those things, explore the resources. Let us know if there's anything else that you want to learn about in the videos, like another topic. So you can let us know either on Facebook or on the Facebook Live webpage. We have a virtual suggestion box, so you can give us some suggestions for some topics that you'd like to know more about. Please like, comment, and share the videos. Let us know what you're liking, what else you want to learn, as I mentioned, and interact with us so we can see what's helping you in the videos most. So I'm going to jump into today's lesson. It's more of a basic lesson. Today we're going to be talking about contractions. So I'm going to explain a little bit more what that is and what those are in Spanish. We have a lot of them in English, but in Spanish there's really only just a few, so it's much easier to keep track of. So without further ado, let's get to that. So we're going to take a look here. Okay. So we have the contraction. So first, just to explain, what does the word contraction mean, if that grammar word is maybe a little bit unfamiliar to you. So a contraction is basically when you take two words or even three words sometimes and you're able to combine them down into one word. Usually it means like one of the words or even both of the words maybe are shortened and then combined into one. That's what a contraction means. So for example, in English, like when we say do not and we then make don't is the contraction of the words do and not. So we have two words coming together, shortening and making one word. So we're going to take a look at the contractions like that in Spanish, looking at the words for a and de, and there are a couple of contractions that go with that. So, so first we have a, which in general means to or at. So kind of what we're talking about here is when we have the combination of the word to and then the word the. So as we've learned in previous videos, we have 4 different words for the in Spanish. Could be el if the thing it's describing is masculine and singular, la if it's a feminine singular object, los if it's a masculine or mixed group but plural, and las if it's a group of female things. So basically we're talking about when we combine a and one of those words, el, la, los, o las, we're talking about what happens when you bring those together. Now, for most of them, we don't really do anything. Everything stays the same. So if you look at the line at the bottom of this page, you'll see like a la, a las, and a los, nothing happens to them. They keep separate as one word a and then this definite article word. So really the only special case is when we're talking about something that's masculine and singular, uses the word el, that we have to worry about these contractions. So again, it's only 1 out of 4 cases, so pretty rare, so not a big concern. So if we look here, you can see this is what happens when we have the a and then the word el for a masculine singular object. So what happens is those combine to make the contraction al. Okay. So you can hear the difference just a little bit. I know it's kind of subtle, but instead of saying a el, we should say al. So we make this contraction al. But again, just to reiterate, for the other 3 forms, there's no change. So a la stays, a la, a los, and a las. So it's only in this one form of with el that we're going to make this kind of contraction. And it's the same case also for de. So de means of or from. So it's the same thing. So it only contracts when it's with el, but if it's with la or las or los, again, no contraction. So it's the same as with a. So there's only really these 2 special cases that we have a and el, and de and el that we have a contraction. So in the case of a and el, it makes al, and in the case of de and el, it makes del. One word, del. Okay. So again, pretty simple, just with these two cases. Now, one thing to keep in mind, just to make sure you don't get confused, is the difference between el and el. Again, both pronounced the same, but you can see from what's written on the page that we have a little bit of a different spelling, and there's a reason for that. So that where they see that little accent on the e in the second el versus the first one. So the difference is just to point out that the word el with no accent means the word the, but the word el with an accent means he. So both these are pronounced the same, but in order to keep them kind of more distinct when we write them, one of them is written with an accent and one of them is not. So the thing that's important to remember is that we're only making these contractions with the word el, like the, with no accent. So if you have like el, he, with an accent, you don't contract. So for example, if I want to say like this is his, it's of him. I know it sounds a little strange in English, but for example, if I want to say like this is his book, the book is of him, it's his, I would say in Spanish, el libro es de él. Okay, so you can see in this case, with the one with the accent, we don't contract. So I don't say es del. That would be incorrect. Okay, so it's only if we're using el, like meaning the, with no accent, that we make the contraction. Okay, so just make sure to keep that in mind. So now let's get to practice, which is the most important thing. So let's go scroll down and go do a couple of exercises together. And then I have another exercise I'm posting to the website so you can get some extra practice with these concepts. So let's try the first exercise. This one involves contractions with de. So we're going to practice to choose the right option of del, de la, de los, and de las. Okay, so feel free to write in the comments your answers or just think them to yourself, whatever works best, but I'd be happy to interact and see if this is all making sense. So your responses in the comments are really helpful for me to gauge if I'm explaining this in a good way. So let's try número uno together. So yo estoy cerca, so I am near, and then we have casa. So when we have to choose if it should be del in the blank, de la, de los, or de las. So if we look at the word casa, this is going to be our key to choose which one is the right one, because right, we have to choose based on the gender and the number of the thing we're describing. So if we look at the word casa, first we think about it in terms of singular and plural. Is this one or more than one? So this one is going to be singular. It's just one, right? Because if it were plural, we would have an S on the end, and there's no S, so it's just one. So we can already eliminate de los and de las because those are only for plural options. So we know we can either say del or de la. So now if you just choose between those two options, we see a word like casa. And so if you remember back from the video I did on word gender, so if you need a little refresher, please feel free to go check out that video. We can see that words that end with a are pretty much almost always feminine. So that way we know that we should choose the feminine singular option. So we should say de la. So yo estoy cerca de la casa. All right, let's try número dos, number two. Tú estás lejos, you are far away. And then we have the word árbol. So again, with the question of singular plural, we can tell this one is singular because it would have been árboles if it's plural. And then we have to ask ourselves, is this masculine or feminine? Now, this one is a little trickier. It's not as clear as something like casa, but we know that in general, words that end with el, with ele, are masculine. And also, if you remember from the example in the explanation above, we saw el árbol was our example of a masculine noun. So if we know what's masculine singular, this is where our contraction is going to come into play. So we're going to, instead of saying de el, we're going to make the contraction del. So tú estás lejos del árbol. You are far away from the tree. Okay. Número tres. Ella está cerca. This one we have cine. So we have to again choose masculine and feminine, singular, plural. So easy to see, it's definitely a singular, right? There's no S, so it's not plural. So we have to choose if it's masculine or feminine. So this one, these words that end with e or English e often are masculine. So this one is going to be el cine. And again, we have another candidate for our contraction because we have de and el, and we know now this should make the contraction del. Ella está cerca del cine. She is near from the movie theater. I know it doesn't sound exactly perfect in English, but that's the meaning. Okay, número 4. Nosotros estamos cerca, and then after the blank, we have the word niños. So again, in terms of thinking about masculine, feminine, singular, plural, we have niños with S, so we know it's plural. Okay, so we're choosing between de las and de los. And then we see niños is ending with the original word ends with O, so masculine. So we went masculine plural, so we're going to say de los. Nosotros estamos cerca de los niños. We are close to the children, the kids. Okay, número 5. Ellas están lejos. And then we have puerta. So again, feminine, masculine, we see puerta, so feminine. And then singular plural, puerta, again, no S, so we know it's feminine and singular. So I say, ellas están lejos de la puerta. They are far from the door. Nosotras estamos cerca, blank, and then we have hospital. So we can see hospital is singular. And then also, again, going back to what I said in number 2, and also going back to that video I did on gender, things ending with L are mostly masculine. So we know this is another candidate for a contraction because it's masculine and singular. So nosotras, estamos cerca del hospital. We are close to the hospital. Okay, número 7. Él está lejos, and then we have perros. So we can see from this one, it's perro, o, so masculino, masculine, and perros with S, so plural, masculine, plural. So we should say de los. Él está lejos de los perros. He is far away from the dogs. Okay, 8. We have 2 more to go, and then we're going to do a quick exercise using with a, so we can practice with a as well, but I think the next one will go a little bit faster because now you're getting the hang of it, and the rules are pretty much the same between a and de. So, número 8, los niños regresan, and then we have colegio. So we can tell colegio with o, so it's singular and also masculine. So now you know that we need to put del. Los niños regresan del colegio. The kids come back from high school. All right, last one for the exercise on de. Los adultos regresan, and then we have panadería, panadería, so we can see it ends with a, so feminine, and also there's no S, so it's not plural, it's singular, so singular, feminine, so de la. Los adultos regresan de la panadería. The adults come back from the bakery, So, muy bien, so that's the exercise on de, so let's do a little practice with a. So we're going to scoot down the page a little bit. And then, as I said, I'm going to post another exercise on the website so you can get a little more practice with these 2 concepts and actually using them together in the same exercise versus these 2 exercises are kind of separate. One is about de, one is about a. So the other exercise I'm going to be posting on the website is one that combines both of them in the same exercise. So let's see if we can knock this out. So, número 1, yo voy. Okay, and so we're choosing al, a la, a los, or a las. Okay, so these are our options we have to do with a. So, a escuela, we can see femenino, singular. So, yo voy a la escuela. I go to the school. Yo voy a la escuela. Número 2, tú vas, and we have colegio, colegio, masculino, singular, a más el, contracción, al. Tú vas al colegio. You go to the high school. Ella mira. Then we have niños, niños, masculino, plural, a los. Ella mira a los niños. She watches the kids. Okay. Él mira a los niños. And I'm going to probably do another separate video to explain why she's saying a los niños versus just los niños. Okay, so that's for a separate video. Okay, número 4. Ellos terminan, and we have 7 de la tarde. So this one is a little bit tricky because we're talking about time. And if you remember how to tell time, which I believe I did it in the previous video, now several videos ago, but I'm pretty sure we did a video on telling time, that for any hour that's after 1, so 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, so on and so forth, it's going to be, we're saying a las. Because we talk about multiple hours, and then you're thinking about the clock as counting hours. If we're saying something's at 1 o'clock, it's at 1 hour. So it's singular, just one. But once we start saying at 2 o'clock, at 3 o'clock, at 4 o'clock, we're talking about counting multiple hours, like 2 hours on the clock, 3 hours on the clock, 4 hours on the clock. So here we have siete, 7. So even though I know this is a little bit confusing because based on what we've done before, we should look at the word and say, oh, if it ends with S, it means it's plural. So this one would be a little confusing because if we look at the word siete, it's true, we don't see an S on the end, but it is plural because it's siete, it's 7, talking about up to 7. So definitely more than 1. So this one is a kind of a little more tricky for you to think about, but it's a las siete. Again, we're talking specifically about when we're telling time that we use this kind of structure. Okay, so that's why we say so las siete. So again, if it were 2, 3, 4, 5, a las dos, a las tres, a las cuatro. But if we had 1 o'clock, then it would be a la una, but only for una. Okay, hopefully that one makes sense. I know it's a little bit trickier, a little bit more complex than the other ones we practiced. Okay, número 5. Ustedes viajan. Now we have Caribe. Caribe, as we know, Caribe ends with E, so masculino y singular. So viajan al Caribe. You all travel to the Caribbean. 6. Yo llego. And then we have 1 de la tarde. So this is another one where we're telling time. So we see the word una just means 1. So just 1. So we know this one is going to be a singular. So a la una de la tarde. So again, this is the only one for time, telling time that we would use la because it's una. But for all the other hours, we're going to use a las, like we did in number 4. So this one is saying, I arrive at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Yo llego a la una de la tarde. Okay, 3 more to go, and then we'll wrap up this video for today. So, número 7. Usted va museos con los niños. Museos, ese, plural, o masculino, masculino, plural, a los. Usted va a los museos con los niños. You, in a formal, polite way, you go to the museums with the children. Okay, 2 left to go. 8. Todos visitan abuelos. Abuelos, ese, plural, o masculino. A los abuelos. Everyone visits the grandparents. Okay, todos visitan a los abuelos. And again, as I said, I'm going to speak in another video about why we say a los abuelos instead of just saying los abuelos. So that video will probably be coming soon. Okay, and the last one, número 9, la mujer ama, and then we have hombre. Hombre, hombre, e, masculino, singular, a, el, al. Okay, la mujer ama al hombre, the woman loves the man. Okay, so this is why we have al, because hombre is masculine singular. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful to give you some practice with these contractions. Again, remembering that it's only with the case where we have a masculine singular object that has el that we have to worry about these contractions. So with a and el makes al, with de and el makes del. But otherwise, all the other forms are the same. There's no change. So it's really only these 2 cases you have to keep an eye out for. So, gracias, and I will see you next again on Friday, el viernes a las 12. So I'll be back at 12 o'clock on Friday for our 3rd and final Facebook Live community Spanish lesson for this week. But otherwise, please tune in to the children's material we have every day. Again, 10:30 for French and 11 o'clock for Spanish. And I will be posting the video and also the extra exercise for this on the website. So please check that out when you have a moment, and please feel free to like, comment, and share with anyone who you think might enjoy. Gracias y adiós.